changed, it hasn't been nearly enough, and these pervasive problems still exist. More violent riots erupted, more people demanded to defund the police, and more Black mothers and fathers mourned the loss of their children. And I found myself in the middle of it all, as a Black woman and mother, but also the chief of police and defender of the U.S. Constitution, as a believer in law and order, as well as in the Black Lives Matter movement. To many, it seemed like the two versions of me couldn't peacefully coexist in our society. To me, it was a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I want to be part of the police force? After all, I am a clear representation of what the police force as a whole is, a big dichotomy. But the scale is unbalanced, and I think you would be surprised to learn that, in my opinion, the side weighing more than the other is the positive one. Over the years, I have witnessed my fellow officers make more of a positive impact in our community and society than a negative one. I have led more officers who cared deeply about their fellow citizens than those who didn't. I have seen change take place, although not as quickly as we would hope or need, within the police force, such as when my predecessor, a woman, appointed me to be her deputy chief, thus paving the way for me to then, one day, become the first Black female chief in Seattle. Racist, sexist, bad people are everywhere in this country, and they work in every profession. Yet stories of police brutality claim the front pages of the country's newspapers because police officers have the power to take away people's freedom. They can put people in handcuffs and take them to jail. They can shoot them and harm them. And, under certain circumstances, they do so justifiably. But racism doesn't start and end with the police force. Racism exists everywhere, in education, healthcare, and every other industry. And that's why I am a firm believer that defunding the police is not the answer, because the police force is not the crux of the problem. There is a culturally pervasive and inherent malignancy that manifests itself in almost every aspect of society. So what can we do to bring forth the change our society so desperately needs? First and foremost, we must acknowledge history. And history tells us that the police force has often been on the wrong side of history. And there's no way we can make things better unless we are willing to accept the truth of this statement. The police force hasn't always supported the Black community, the Asian community, the Latino community, the LGBTQ+ community, the poor white community, and the many other minorities that enrich our country but have been marginalized for too long. Once we finally acknowledge history, we can find ways to avoid repeating the same mistakes. It is my core belief that mistakes don't start in the actual profession, but much earlier, even before a man or woman chooses to become a police officer, or a teacher, or a doctor, or a social worker. It starts at home, and it starts during childhood. Some of the most important leadership principles that I applied throughout my life, especially as chief of police, I learned as a child at home, in school, and among my peers. And this is what I will be sharing with you in my book. Leadership lessons that have helped me not only in my career, but also in life, as well as behind-the-scenes accounts on Chaz, Chop, and what really happened when my name did not make the list of the top 3 candidates for the coveted position of Chief of Police. I will share values and principles that I stood by even when I knew the decisions I made as chief were not going to be well received by the court of public opinion. Decisions I stood by because I knew it was the right thing to do. After all, leading a group of people, an organization,